everybody, my name is Nathan. I'm the Angry Husker. No sports news for me today, sorry. We're in the middle of the dead period when it comes to sports. The NBA's gone into All-Star break, although I'm not the biggest NBA fan in the world. College basketball, Nebraska's already out of the tournament. Sad day. And Creighton was out of the tournament a long time ago. So they're not. Neither team is really relevant at this point in time. Uh, College baseball starts up soon, but again, the beginning of the year, college baseball not really too interesting. College football recruiting's done, and I don't follow recruiting anyway, so that doesn't interest me too much. So there's nothing to talk about in sports. So I'm going to talk about entertainment instead. First of all, I'd like to thank my wife for not wanting to drag me to 50 Shades of Grey. It would appear that watching a 120-minute movie about boring people boning is less appealing to her than it is to me. Yes! I have the best wife ever for that. But, okay, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I know I'm a little bit late on this news, but Spider-Man is going to be an Avenger now. That is the greatest news ever. I've never thought it would actually happen. But with this news came some some people thinking that maybe instead of Spider-Man being Peter Parker, they should change the character to a black character that appeared in the comics after Peter Parker. Now, I'm not very familiar with the comics. I'm not familiar with the black version of Spider-Man, whatever this character is like. And it started a debate again, I think. Regarding diversity in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Does Marvel need more diversity? That I hear people say a lot. There's not enough minority characters in it. All the superheroes are white men. There's no women in it except for Black Widow, and she doesn't have her own movie. And in the next phase of Marvel films, it looks like we're going to get a little bit more diversity. Black Panther is going to be a black character. Duh. And then Miss Marvel is going to be the first woman superhero in this cinematic universe. You know, with her own standalone movie. I know Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have Black Widow, who's an awesome character. But to me, this is a thing about diversity in films. I think a lot of people forget why diversity is important to art, like movies and books and stuff like that, and how it is to be used to better your work of art, your piece of fiction. See, people get hung up on physical diversity, the color of the skin, the gender of the character, and that's not really what makes diversity important. Now, it can be. That physical diversity can be very important to a character, if it helps shape the character into the kind of person he or she will be. Let's use Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones as an excellent example of this. Tyrion Lannister's main physical trait is that he's a dwarf. And this dwarfism for him, it's not just a throwaway, we want some diversity. Here's a disabled character. Not, sorry, don't want to insinuate the dwarfs are disabled, but it's a physical limitation for him. It's not thrown in there for the sake of diversity. It's because it shapes his character in a way that makes him completely unique. That physical limitation for him sets him apart from everybody else, and his character develops differently than anybody else would. His brother Jaime Lannister is the greatest swords fighter in the kingdom, but Tyrion is not. He can't be. And so in order to make himself strong and important and influential, he sharpens his mind. It's his wit and intelligence which shapes him into the character he is, not his physical capability. In a way, his physical incapability makes him into the person he is. That's how you use physical diversity to the betterment of your work of fiction. The example of Tyrion Lannister. His dwarfism shapes him into the character he is. Now, you can do that for a woman or a black or Hispanic type character if their physical differences help them as a character make themselves different from the other characters. In other words, they're not different just for the sake of being different. They're different because their differences help them interact in a unique way with the other characters. What's more important to me than physical diversity in a work of fiction is diversity of personality. That's the key. That's why Tyrion is such a good example, because his physical difference gives him a personality difference. It shapes his personality. And the personality of the character is what's important. Now, what does it have to do with Marvel? I don't think Marvel needs diversity in their characters because their characters are already extremely diverse. Yes, they all may be white men, but they couldn't be any more different for being white men. I mean, let's compare Steve Rogers to Tony Stark. Steve Rogers is patriotic, he's got the moral high ground, he's dedicated, he's serious, no nonsense. Compare that to Tony Stark, who's bombastic. He's a bragger. He's self-absorbed. He's a playboy billionaire philanthropist. That's what he is. And the way they interact with each other is incredibly interesting because they couldn't be any more different despite physically looking very similar. And it goes on. Bruce Banner, he may be an incredibly intelligent person and a scientist, just like Tony Stark, but he's shy. He shuns the limelight. He's a loner. He doesn't like to be around other people, and that's not just because of what happens when he gets excited. It's because that's the type of person he is. Thor is another example. Thor is very different from the rest as well. See, that's the key, I think, when it comes to this kind of thing. And that's what I think a lot of people forget when they're talking about diverse characters. It's not the physical differences that matter. It's the differences in personalities and how they interact with one another. So as far as that's concerned, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a lot of diversity in it. Not because the characters look different, but because they are different. They couldn't be any more different in the way they interact with each other and the way they look at the world and interact with it. And that, my friends, is how you create real diversity in fiction. And when it comes to Spider-Man, should he be black? Should he be white? I don't think it matters. It doesn't make a difference. He's probably going to be the Peter Parker that we all know and love because we're used to that. We know him. And it's not going to require us having a backstory. You just jump right in. He's Spider-Man. He doesn't need to be bit by a spider. We already know the story. So, that's my take on that. Yep, that's it. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Nathan, and I am out. Have a good one.